What's going on, guys? It's Coach Green here with my first training vlog of myself. I'll be following myself around with the camera during my training days, giving extra content and information on what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, why you should think about doing it, and how you could incorporate it into your own training. For the first video, I want to just take a tour around the gym. I'm still going to be recording my training, but just to give you an idea of where I am, what I have to work with, and what I do, how I do it in the space I got. This is my facility, Green Roots Performance and Wellness, 6961 Richmond Road, Williamsburg, Virginia. I'll drop the address in the comments or in the description in case you want to pop by or drive by, I guess, and wave, because you can't come in. You can come in, but I would prefer you not come in unless you have an appointment. Anyways, first thing we'll see when you come in is this guy. He's here every day with me, but normally when people are here, I put him up in the back just so he's still young, so he's, still working on the self-control. But we got our classic Airdyne bikes, and normally everybody comes in, drops their stuff off in their cubbies. All the athletes that I do train, they do at some point, usually after their first few introductory weeks, probably a month or so, they get their own individualized programming. Even though if they do play the same sport, they don't necessarily need the same training, so to speak. They still use the same qualities for their sport, whether it be speed, power, whatever it is, things like that. But the way in which they produce those things or need to develop those things can differ. So everybody gets an individualized program. They're still, even though they're individualized, they're very similar just because of how I program for athletes. They're very similar. But the main differences are probably just exercise selection and maybe the volume. Other than that, everything is fairly similar, but still individualized for each person. So continuing on, just got a little collection of medicine balls, one sandbag, some sliders, cones, blah, 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 blah. I do have ladders. It's a joke around here. They come out like twice a year, and that's pretty much it, just because, well, we'll talk about that later. Or just our, called the athletic center, just because, hurdles, this is where we have our strip of turf to get any sprints in if we're not able to go outside, sled prowler, pushes, pulls, whatever it may be. But this is where that happens. So we got hurdles, resistance bands, the GHD. Shout out to Scott, appreciate it. Got the dip rack battle ropes. This little section doesn't get used a ton, but it does get used nonetheless. The facility is not that large, so I want to make sure everything that I bring in here has a purpose, and not just a single use purpose, because then that would just take up space where, if there's a big piece of equipment where you can only do one, maybe two things on it, it becomes a space limiter. Everything I have in here, I try to make sure it has at least 3 and up purposes where you can do multiple things, be creative on it, and, not hurt yourself, obviously, but do things where you can get more than a couple uses out of them. The space is total 1,400 square feet. So that's this section of the space, my office, back room, and a restroom in the back. So total is 1,400 square feet. But total usage space is probably closer to like 800 maybe. I didn't do the exact measurements, but for the actual usage or space usage, it's probably about 800 square feet, I'm guessing. We get the majority of our high intensity stuff in just because it's the most space square footage wise. So platforms is a double platform technically, so I've had 3 people, I think, on one platform, but preferably 2 most, just so we make sure we can use the space as best as possible. In a perfect situation, 4 people doing something at a time. Obviously with Olympic lifts, you want to have somebody going, one person at a time per platform or per per area. Squat racks, 2 squat racks. Well, really 3 squat racks, 2 that have pull-up bars. Got my bars over there, some specialty bars in the corner. Nothing super fancy or shiny. The bare essentials where you get some good work in. Got our sleds back there, got a landmine, some boxes, benches, dumbbells, and kettlebells. And that's pretty much it. I didn't really speak on the turf, but this is the turf. For the most part, when the weather is manageable, I'll say. When the weather is manageable, we really only use the turf for the warm-up that everybody does, dynamic warm-up. They use a whole strip of turf just so we can actually move while we're warming up and not just staying in one position, or one place rather. Warm-ups, obviously dumbbell work, just because that's where they are. For the most part, if we're doing something that requires a little more distance horizontally, we use a strip of turf for that. We come outside. So this is where we do most of our sprints. We have a sidewalk here, and I've marked it off actually. Starting down on this end, I've marked it for 15 yards, right? 15 yards. So starting from the line back there, got 5. I don't need to walk this through you. I'll just tell you, it's 15 yards. Just trust me. Or we can use the sidewalk down here if there are other, businesses where people are coming in. This short little hill right here, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but this is a short little hill. It's probably like 20 yards or close to 20 yards. I actually just started using this hill this year when COVID got a hold of us, just because I want them to do hill sprints, because we're not always able to do sled sprints in the grass area that's down there, if you can see that, just because the grass gets wet and it takes it's not completely flat, so it takes a long time for it to dry. So a lot of the sprinting that we do now takes place outside in the parking lot. Even the colder days, we're not doing a ton. I'm more comfortable with them on the asphalt concrete. And also we do a good enough job here preparing the lower limb, which I think a lot of people miss out on when they start sprint or plyometric programs, where it's the foot, ankle, lower leg, shin area complex or connection, whatever you want to call it. But we prepare that, or seem to have prepared that enough. Since we've been sprinting as much as we have been sprinting, we haven't had any shin splints at all. 0. Other athletes that I train or work with, or just run into, they say they get shin splints, and normally shin splints come from overuse, too much too soon, or just the drastic changes in between surfaces. So for example, when I got shin splints in high school, it would usually be football season to winter lifting to track season. We're going from running on grass or turf, like 100% of the time, to running on, basketball courts in the winter, possibly the tile inside the school building, and then going out to track season where you're pretty much running on rubber track the entire time. So just those differences in surfaces, people don't really take into account. And I'll go through all that stuff for my own workouts that we'll see in these vlogs today and in the future. Preparing the lower limb so we can avoid those issues, whether it be, tendonitis, plantar fasciitis, things like that, where there's inflammation and trauma to the lower leg, knee area, or anything below the knee. The other reason I wanted to do a training vlog is because I just got a new phone, and it's pretty cool. The camera is pretty sweet, so I wanted to use that. Also, the phone's pretty expensive, so I needed to justify actually getting it. That being said, let's get into this workout. Also, it is winter, so the sprints are hit or miss for being outside. Today it's cold, so I'll be doing my sprints indoors. They'll be shorter. We'll go through that. You'll see it. Let's go. today, I put 12. This is not 12. It's February. On the menu today, knocked out a good amount of this already. Got a dynamic warm up out the way. Ankle bounces, warm up the lower legs and feet and ankles. Did our low crouching 2-point sprints, 5 yards, 6 sets. Best time, I'll put that right here, as well as a screenshot, so there's evidence that I really did it. Then our lift, again, not that many lifts, only two lifts a day, the snatch complex and the lunges. That's a jump, that's a bike sprint. It's really only 2 lifts a day, just like I said. Once we get the sprints in, no need to go super crazy with the amount of lifts that we're doing in a day. Quick shoe change, and we're done. Athletic development, strength and conditioning, I usually wouldn't program a Olympic lifting complex for the high intensity primary movement of a lift. But for myself, a couple things really. I just started getting back into Olympic lifting last week. Haven't done it in a while consistently and enough to actually really push it and justify doing, doubles and singles of the primary movement. So just basically getting back into Olympic lifting shape. So it's 24 reps total of the whole complex, which isn't that much for a primary movement. It's just the fact that you have to hold the bar the whole time and do the movements all at once. The other reason I did it for myself is because I'm not on scholarship and I'm not really playing a sport right now, so I can afford to push myself further in directions I normally wouldn't push a different athlete if they were on scholarship or were playing a sport in season or out of season. So for myself, I don't mind risking it for science. Well, that includes training vlog number 1. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you could take something useful away from it. Look forward to doing more of these in the future. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments. Like, subscribe. See you next time.